My family has a unique gift. Not charm. Not intelligence. Not even good cooking. No, their gift is making someone feel like an optional character in their own story. I'm Owen Taylor. Oldest child. 24. Certified welder. First in the family to actually complete a trade program. You'd think that would earn a nod or maybe a group hug. Nope. When I passed my certification exam, my mom texted me. "Oh, that's neat. Let us know if you need a new lunchbox." Smiling face with smiling eyes. They thought I was still the kid who forgot to RSVP to his own prom. Not the guy who could blueprint a structural beam in under 30 seconds. My sister, Brielle? She could get applause for sneezing. 2 years younger, 4 shades blonder, and blessed with the kind of star student energy that my parents inhaled like second-hand smoke. Growing up, she had a full shelf of participation trophies. I had a drawer full of receipts from part-time jobs, groceries, gas, steel-toe boots. She got dance lessons. I got a mop and the Sunday shift at Smiley's car wash by age 15. It wasn't jealousy. It was erosion. One ignored moment at a time. Like when my 18th birthday rolled around and my mom said, "We're skipping gifts this year, budgeting's tight." But 2 months later, Brielle got a full-blown Sweet 16 bash with a chocolate fountain and a bounce house. A bounce house. At 16. When I finally passed my welding certification after 3 years of night classes and double shifts, I didn't even tell them. I just bought myself a burger and fries, sat in the work van, and let the quiet be enough. At least Ratchet, my rescue mutt, wagged his tail like I'd won the lottery. So when Brielle's college graduation came up, I didn't expect a big deal. I didn't even expect a medium deal. But what I saw was a 5-act production with catering. Trent, our cousin with the permanently backward cap and podcast nobody listens to, posted a slideshow on Instagram. The captions read like a press release. "Brielle made it. So proud of our valedictorian queen." There they all were. Mom, Dad, Aunt Marie, Uncle Frank, even Great-Aunt Loretta, whose last recorded movement was in 2014. They were all clinking glasses in the backyard. Matching t-shirts. Monogrammed napkins. A cake taller than my apartment's fridge. I blinked. Scrolled. Waited. Finally, a text came in. From Mom. "We'll celebrate yours later, Red Heart, so proud of you." No. When? No phone call. Just the classic, later, that never arrives. I stared at my cracked phone screen, sitting alone in my studio apartment above a hardware store, Ratchet snoring beside me like a gremlin in a dog bed. The spaghetti I microwaved had gone cold. I didn't want the glitter or the cake. I wanted to be seen. The next morning, I put on my grease-stained boots, shoved a breakfast burrito in my face, and headed to work. We were down a guy, so I took the full shift on the industrial pipe job, welding through heat and metal fumes. It was exhausting. But it made sense. Unlike family. 3 weeks passed. Not a word. No follow-up. No. "Hey, let's celebrate now." Not even a "how's work?" from anyone. It was like I had become allergic to group chats. And then, out of nowhere, Trent showed up at my worksite. He didn't text. Didn't call. Just rolled up in his beat-up Toyota, sunglasses on like he was there to film a documentary. I was loading metal rods into the truck bed when he walked up and said, "Dude, you're not gonna believe what I just got asked." I wiped sweat off my forehead and gave him the same look I give malfunctioning soldering machines. "This better not be about a podcast episode." He grinned. "Nope. It's about you." And that's when it all started. I squinted at Trent like the sun itself was suspicious. "You're saying someone asked you to talk to me?" "Technically, they asked if you'd be available," Trent said, raising his brows like that made a difference. "But yeah." I folded my arms and leaned against the truck bed. My shirt was half soaked with sweat. Ratchet, who I bring to work sometimes, looked up from the shade under the trailer like he too was bracing for disappointment. "Well?" "Spit it out. Am I being drafted or kidnapped?" Trent looked way too excited for someone delivering a message. So, this guy I know. Nate. He started. He's on the board for the technical college downtown. They're doing this new trades campaign. You know, Build the Future or something like that. And they're looking for people to feature. Like real grads who came up through the grind. Not some guy holding a clipboard in a suit pretending he knows what a rivet gun is. I blinked. And you gave them my name? Well, I showed them your Instagram. That reel where you were fixing that busted water line in the rain? You looked like a welding god. That wasn't rain. I muttered. It was a burst pipe. And I had bronchitis for a week after. Exactly. Real grit. They loved it. They want to meet you. Said your story's authentic. They're tired of showing white collars holding blueprints. They want the guy who actually does it. I stared at him. Then slowly looked over my shoulder, like maybe there was another Owen behind me. One that mattered more. Wait, I said, voice dry. Let me guess. They're offering me exposure, right? Maybe a pizza coupon? Trent snorted. No, dude. There's a stipend. Like $2,000. Plus, they'll feature you on all the college's ads. Posters. Online. Maybe even a billboard if they raise the budget. I blinked. My inner monologue immediately chimed in. They want to put my name up there. Literally. Publicly. Which, funny enough, was exactly what my own family had never done. I looked down at my grease-stained boots. Tools clinked behind me as the other guys loaded up. The idea felt absurd. Me, a walking afterthought at every holiday dinner, being asked to represent something? What's the catch? I asked, half joking. Half not. No catch. They just want to meet you first. See if you're comfortable on camera. You just share your story, maybe do some shots of you welding, talking about your journey. You know, show people that not every success story wears a tie. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I reached for my thermos, took a long sip of lukewarm coffee, and thought about my graduation again. How I just stood there with my rolled-up certificate, alone, in a half-empty auditorium. No applause. No one cheering my name. And now some strangers wanted to put me on a billboard? I cleared my throat. Fine, I said. I'll go to the meeting. But if this turns out to be some pyramid scheme about selling toolboxes to grandmas, I'm welding your door shut. Trent grinned like he just pulled off a magic trick. Deal. And bro, trust me, this is gonna be huge. The meeting was 2 days later at the community college's main building. I'd never been there before. My welding program was across town in a converted warehouse that smelled like rust and sweat and achievement. This place? It had espresso machines and potted plants. Trent had to coach me through not showing up in my work boots. I wore jeans and a clean polo, the nicest one I owned, which still had a faded bleach mark near the sleeve. I walked into that meeting room feeling like a construction worker at a yacht club. But they welcomed me like I was a keynote speaker. The campaign coordinator, Jasmine, asked thoughtful questions. Nate, the board guy, already knew half my backstory from Trent. They asked about my shifts, my training, what I wished people understood about trade work. And I didn't sugarcoat it. I told them about working nights, about choosing tools over textbooks, about watching my sister get standing ovations for awards I didn't know existed, while I patched up corroded plumbing in basements that smelled like wet carpet and regret. They listened. And when I finished, Jasmine smiled and said, "We'd be honored to feature you." That night I sat in my apartment with Ratchet curled up beside me. I stared at the email they sent confirming the campaign's schedule. One line stood out. "We'll be unveiling the campaign at the summer commencement ceremony." My stomach flipped. Summer commencement. The same one my cousin Trent was attending. The same ceremony my family was planning to attend, again, for someone else. Only this time, it wasn't about them. It was about me. The first day of filming, I nearly backed out. I showed up with soot still under my fingernails. Jasmine told me that was perfect. Authenticity, she said, holding a clipboard while the cameraman set up next to a stack of steel beams. They filmed me welding, sweating, grinding through sparks while talking about things I'd never said out loud. Like how I used to sneak back into the house after my 3 a.m. janitor shifts in high school, stepping over loose floorboards just so I wouldn't wake anyone up. Or how my dad once told a dinner table full of relatives that I was taking a gap year, when I was actually hauling lumber at a construction site 60 hours a week. The crew didn't interrupt. No fake tears. Just nods. Listening. Jasmine had me do a sit-down interview too. It wasn't rehearsed. No script. Just questions like, "What kept you going?" and "What do you wish people knew about this path?" I gave honest answers. I wanted to be useful. Needed. Even if nobody clapped for it. The camera didn't blink. Neither did Jasmine. And then came the one question that caught me off guard. "Do your family know you're part of this campaign?" I swallowed. "Not really," I said. "They know I work. But not that I'm proud of it." She gave a soft smile and scribbled something down. "They will." Over the next week, they filmed more, my workshop, the worn boots by my door, Ratchet wagging his tail like a four-legged mascot. They even got a time-lapse of me installing a custom metal railing I designed from scratch. Somehow, it all felt less like a production and more like a strange kind of therapy. Like I'd been silenced in lowercase letters my whole life, and now, suddenly, I was being written in bold. But I told no one. Not my mom. Not my dad. Not Brielle. Especially not Brielle. I wasn't hiding it out of spite. Not exactly. I just didn't want to give them the chance to downplay it. Because they would. If I told them I was being featured at a commencement ceremony, they'd probably say, "Oh, how nice, for a trade thing." If I mentioned the billboard, I'd get, "Really? You're not joking?" So I said nothing. Let them attend Trent's graduation like it was another family coronation. Let them pose in their pastel outfits and post captions about legacy and future leaders. Meanwhile, I kept showing up to work. Getting calls from Jasmine. Approving headshots. Reviewing quotes. Watching my name move from an email subject line, to a flyer mock-up, to a full banner design. One afternoon, Jasmine called with a final confirmation. "We'll reveal the new Build the Future campaign at the opening of the commencement ceremony. Your face will be on the main screen during the intro. Along with your quote." I paused. "What quote?" She laughed. "The one you gave us. The thing about wanting to be useful, even if nobody clapped. It hit hard in editing. You'll see." The night before the ceremony, I got a group text from Mom. Excited for Trent's big day tomorrow. Everyone remembered to wear blue smiling face with smiling eyes. I stared at it for a while. Blue. The same color I wore when I moved out. When I left my own graduation alone and ate drive-through tacos in the parking lot. I thought about replying just to say, "See you there." But I didn't. Not yet. I just smiled, powered off my phone, and laid out my cleanest jeans, polished my boots, and printed the email Jasmine sent with my official badge and parking pass. This time, I wasn't sneaking in. This time, I was invited. The morning of the ceremony, I got there early. Too early. The auditorium lobby smelled like cheap cologne and new diploma covers. Staff were still taping signs to folding tables, arranging name tags, testing mics. Jasmine waved when she saw me and handed me a badge with my name on it. Just my name. Not Brielle's brother. Not +1. Just Owen Taylor. In bold. "You ready?" she asked. "Born ready," I said. Then immediately panicked and added, "I mean, sure." She laughed and handed me a small envelope. "After your feature plays, we'll bring you backstage. The dean wants to give you a quick thank you. They're adding your quote to the college website." I blinked. "What, like permanently?" "Yep," she said. "With your face next to it." I tucked the envelope into my jacket pocket like it was made of glass. People began pouring in around 9:45 a.m. Parents in suits. Friends holding bouquets. Every fourth person had balloons. I found a seat near the back, Not hidden, just quiet. Jasmine told me they'd spotlight me after the video anyway, so I might as well enjoy the show. At 10:02, I saw them. My family. Mom in her usual, subtle church glam outfit, pearls and all. Dad in a blazer I hadn't seen since his failed HOA campaign. And Brielle, hair perfectly curled, holding an iced latte like it was part of her hand. They didn't see me. Not that they were looking. They found their seats closer to the front, 2 rows behind the graduates. Trent stood nearby, snapping selfies like he was about to perform at Coachella. He pointed at the giant, "Welcome graduates" banner and said something that made Brielle laugh so hard she tilted her cup. I just watched. And maybe for a moment I felt that old pit in my stomach again. The one that whispered, "This isn't your crowd. This isn't your day." But then the lights dimmed. And everything changed. A spotlight hit the stage. The announcer, some faculty guy with a voice made for morning radio, welcomed everyone to the summer commencement ceremony. As we celebrate this year's graduates, we also want to highlight the stories that don't always make the front page, the quiet successes, the unsung builders, the hands that quite literally shape the world around us. My spine straightened. Today, the announcer continued, we launch our new campaign, Build the Future, featuring someone who reminds us what determination looks like, even when nobody's watching. The screen flickered. Music played. And then, my face appeared. Not a selfie. Not a grainy phone shot. A crisp, cinematic shot of me welding in slow motion. Sparks flying. My eyes behind the mask. My quote underneath. I just wanted to be useful. Even if nobody clapped. There was a pause in the room. Then more clips. Time-lapse of me building that railing, repairing a busted pipe in the rain, lifting a welding mask with sweat on my brow. It cut to an interview clip, me talking about working night shifts in high school, about trade school not being the backup plan, but the plan. The video ended with the campaign tagline. Build the future, in every way that matters. When the lights came back on, there was a beat of silence. Then applause. Big. Real. Loud applause. People started turning. A staffer stepped forward and said, "Owen Taylor, could you please stand?" I stood. Nerves kicking like a mule in my chest, but I stood. My cousin Trent's mouth actually dropped open. I could see it from across the auditorium. My dad leaned in toward my mom, visibly whispering something with a frown. Brielle looked straight at me like I was some stranger who had photobombed her graduation party. The applause kept going. People who had never met me were clapping. My own family? Just stared. And then, as I walked toward the backstage hallway, Jasmine met me with a smirk. Your family didn't know? Nope, I said. Damn, she whispered, almost proud. That's one hell of a reveal. Backstage smelled like coffee, fresh paper, and the faint tang of nervous sweat. I followed Jasmine down a short hallway lined with event staff. One gave me a thumbs up. Another offered a bottle of water with a wink like I'd just won something. I don't think I'd ever been congratulated that many times in a single minute before. We stepped into a side room where the dean, a tall, silver-haired man with a voice like smooth gravel, shook my hand like I'd just returned from war. Owen Taylor, he said warmly. It's an honor to meet the face of our future. I wanted to correct him, say I was just a welder who got lucky with a camera crew, but instead I nodded, smiled, and said, thanks. This means a lot. He handed me a printed version of the campaign poster. My quote. My name. Right there under the banner. We'll be putting this up in the main hallway for the fall semester, he said. You've already had students asking about the welding program. I blinked. Seriously? He smiled. Your story matters. Never forget that. 15 minutes later, I slipped back into the lobby. The ceremony was still going, alphabetical names being called in waves, but the hallway was full of early exiters, bored siblings, and caffeine-deprived parents. And standing near the exit, like a glitch in the Matrix, was Brielle. Alone. Holding a mostly empty iced latte and staring at a promotional poster tacked to a display board, my poster. She didn't even look up when I stopped a few feet away. Looks better in print, I said. She turned slowly. For a second, her expression didn't change. Still that poised, magazine cover calm she always wore. Then it cracked just a little, enough for a question to sneak out. You didn't tell anyone? Nope. She blinked. Why? I shrugged. Figured it was just a trade thing. Not something worth toasting. Brielle opened her mouth, then closed it. Her jaw flexed. She glanced at the poster again. I didn't know you were doing stuff like this. Because you didn't ask. The words weren't bitter. Just honest. And it seemed like that hit harder. I always thought you were, like, doing okay. She said. I was. But this? You're literally on a screen in front of everyone. Yeah. Weird, right? She let out a short breath. Not quite a laugh. Not quite a sigh. Then, without looking at me, she said, Mom looked like she saw a ghost. I'm surprised she didn't claim I photoshopped it. That earned an actual laugh. Quiet. Almost guilty. We stood there for a second, not as enemies, not quite as siblings either. Just people who grew up in the same house but never quite shared a story. I didn't mean to make it a thing, I said. You didn't, Brielle replied. We did. I nodded. Anyway, she added, it was cool. You looked like you. That was the most honest compliment I'd ever gotten from her. I didn't even know what to do with it. So I just said, thanks. I started to walk past her when I caught movement in the corner of my eye. Mom and Dad were hovering near the vending machines. Whispering. Looking at their phones. Glancing up at the poster like it had committed a personal crime. They didn't approach. Didn't wave. Just stood there in their awkward little huddle. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel small in their silence. I felt solid. They could have come up to me. Could have said, congratulations. Could have said, we're proud of you. They didn't. And I didn't need them to. I had something better now, proof. And peace. By the time I got home, my phone looked like it had been used as a punching bag by the notification gods. I had 38 unread texts, a dozen missed calls, and 3 Instagram tags from people I hadn't heard from since high school gym class. I expected a few awkward, wow, you looked clean, messages. Instead, I opened Jasmine's DM first. Videos live. Already 9.2K views in the first hour. You brought it fire. I clicked the link. There I was, mask down, welding torch in hand, molten sparks lighting up the screen like fireflies in a storm. The comment section wasn't just support, it was validation. My brother needed to hear this. This is what kids need to see more of. He gets it. Real work, real story. I don't even weld, and this hit hard. One even said, hope his family's proud. And I swear my soul laughed out loud. Then came the group chat tsunami. Family Red Heart 18 members. Lit up like a slot machine. Mom. Owen! Why didn't you tell us? We were so surprised. Dad. Just saw it. You looked respectable. Didn't expect that level of polish. Brielle. You're kind of famous now, lol. Can I say I know you? Then came the cascade of extended family reacting like they just discovered Bigfoot in the backyard. Uncle Frank. Wait, that's our Owen? From the college video? Anne Marie. You should have told us, we would have clapped louder. Cousin Beth. OMG, I cried. My coworkers saw it too. And of course, the piece de resistance from Mom. We're thinking of throwing a little dinner this weekend. To celebrate you smiling face with smiling eyes, just family. Ah yes. Just family. Same crew that ghosted my trade school graduation and live-streamed Brielle's from the back of a rented party limo. Suddenly they were rolling out the red carpet for some takeout pizza and guilt appetizers? Hard pass. I didn't respond. Not right away. Instead, I reshared the official campaign post Jasmine had tagged me in, the one with my quote and banner image. No caption. Just a hammer emoji and a flame. The likes started trickling in. Then flowing. then flooding. Old classmates I hadn't spoken to in years, some of whom used to snicker when I showed up to school in work boots, were now reacting with fire and flex biceps emojis. One guy I barely knew DM'd, "Bro, I showed this to my dad. He said you speak for all of us." Another just said, "You made welding look noble." And then, hilariously enough, came a message from my old chemistry teacher. "Owen, I always knew you'd go far. Let me know if you'd like to come speak to my class." I almost sent back, "You once called me a distraction with a wrench. But I let it go. Growth or whatever." That night, Brielle texted me separately. "So, are you doing more of these?" I answered simply, "They asked me to be on a panel next semester." After a few minutes, she replied, "That's actually amazing. I think you found your thing." And then, "It's crazy, we didn't even realize." Didn't realize? No, they didn't. Because they never asked. They were too busy cheering for caps and gowns to notice the guy holding welding gloves and doing night shifts. Mom messaged again before bed. "Don't forget, we're thinking Sunday dinner for your big moment, smiling face with hearts. Let us know if that works." Funny how people suddenly want to host dinners when a stranger's applause reminds them of your name. I stared at the message for a while. Then I muted the chat. I had one last thing to do before sleep. I opened the campaign video again. Watched the line play. I just wanted to be useful, even if nobody clapped. Then I whispered to no one. Turns out they clap eventually, once everyone else does first. I wasn't planning on going to the dinner. Really. But Sunday came, and something in me said, let them sit with it. Let them see you now, not the version they boxed in. So I showed up. Clean jeans. Black button-up. Nothing flashy. Just sharp enough to be unrecognizable to the version of me they used to roll their eyes at. Ratchet stayed home. Even he didn't deserve this level of second-hand embarrassment. When I pulled into the driveway, the first thing I noticed was the sad little "Congratulations, Owen" banner hanging over the porch light. It was clearly a leftover from Brielle's party, same font, same colors. They just taped over her name. If you looked close enough, you could still see a faint B under the O. Classic. Inside, the living room smelled like store-bought lasagna and panic. The whole family was there: Mom, Dad, Brielle, Uncle Frank, even Aunt Marie, who hadn't voluntarily spoken to me since she caught me using the garage fridge as a kid. They all smiled like actors who just found out the director was sitting front row. Mom gave me a hug that felt like a job interview. "Owen! Look at you!" "Yeah," I said. "I know. I cleaned up." Dad clapped me on the back. "Big man on campus, huh?" "It wasn't a campus," I said calmly. "Just a stage. But close." We sat down at the table. Paper plates. Generic soda. A store-bought cake with "You did it" written in red icing like someone had forgotten what it was. The awkwardness was thick enough to spread on toast. Then Mom raised her glass, a solo cup full of sparkling cider. "To Owen," she said brightly. "For making us proud. We always knew he had it in him." Everyone smiled. Everyone but me. I took a sip of water and didn't say a word. Because no, they didn't always know. They didn't clap when I passed my certification exam. They didn't post photos when I got hired full-time. They didn't show up when I graduated trade school with perfect attendance. But now that strangers were sharing my video and professors were quoting my name, now they knew. As dinner dragged on, Aunt Marie tried to make conversation. "So, do you think you'll be on more billboards?" "No idea," I said. "But I've got 2 crews reaching out about contract work." "Wow," she said, visibly startled. "That's impressive." Brielle leaned in. "So, what do you actually do now?" I gave a slow smile. "Turns out I make sparks fly." She rolled her eyes, but didn't respond. Toward the end of the meal, Dad finally asked the question he'd clearly been saving. "So, what's next for you, son?" I wiped my mouth, set my fork down, and replied, "I've got meetings lined up for a local partnership. Maybe opening my own fabrication space by winter." Dead silence. Mom blinked. Your own, what now? Shop, I said. Business license, client list, custom work. You know, a real job. Nobody laughed. Nobody even breathed. So I pushed back from the table and stood up. I appreciate the effort, I said, gesturing vaguely to the cake. But I've got an early morning. Welding doesn't wait. I headed for the door. But before I left, I turned and looked directly at Mom. You know, I said with a smile, Brielle's party had a band. You could have at least hired someone with a trumpet. Then I walked out. The look on their faces? Let's just say, that was worth more than a toast. The week after that dinner, I didn't hear much from the family. No follow-ups. No, so proud of you. Texts. Just a few awkward emoji reacts in the group chat and one unrelated photo of Aunt Marie's new dog. But that Friday? That's when the moment happened. I was standing in the college lobby, waiting to meet Jasmine about the upcoming panel, when Trent walked in, camera bag slung over his shoulder, sunglasses on like he was prepping for paparazzi. We made eye contact. He paused. Then, trying to play it cool, said, Hey man. Big week, huh? Yeah, I said. Guess so. You, really surprised people. I nodded. You too. People didn't expect you to be so quiet. He chuckled awkwardly and muttered, Yeah, well. Catch you later. He kept walking. Didn't ask about the panel. Didn't mention the video. But I knew he saw it. They all had. Later that night, I got a notification. Cousin Marcus, the one who filmed part of the graduation on his phone, had posted a selfie on Instagram. I clicked it without thinking. It was him, standing in front of the college's main hall. Behind him, the new campaign banner hung in giant letters. Build the Future, featuring Owen Taylor. And right there, under the name, was the quote. I just wanted to be useful. Even if nobody clapped. And next to Marcus in the photo? Me. Not posed. Not planned. Just me, standing nearby, hands in my pockets, looking at the banner like I still couldn't believe it was real. But Marcus's caption was what sealed it. Didn't expect to see his name up there. No hashtags. No emojis. Just raw, awkward honesty. And that said more than any toast ever could. Within an hour, people started sharing it. Friends. Classmates. Former teachers. A couple of my clients even sent screenshots, asking if I was the guy from the banner. And the best part? I didn't post a thing. I didn't explain. I didn't clarify. I didn't tag or humble brag. I just let them see it. Let them sit with it. Let them realize I didn't need a stage to be proud, I just needed space to build my own. And I did. Quietly. Fully. Without needing applause. They can toast all they want now. But I already raised my glass, to myself.